The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Well, less is always more, but I'll tell you who's not. Gavin Napier from the Casual Heroes. Oh my God, he's the third man. But what side is he on?
Not ice cubes.
Why are you sitting in the closet?
So we've done a little bit of renovation, and we've turned closet into office space. And so not just for things like this, for other work projects, I've got a place to go that's a little quiet, that doesn't disturb anyone else, and that I'm free to decorate as I choose.
Why is it when women decide men need a place of their own, it's always the closet? How does that happen?
So in defense of my lovely wife, I decided this one.
Okay.
I chose this. It's actually attached to the game room. And the bonus of this is it is directly down the hall from our son's bedroom. But there are multiple doors that I can close in between so I don't disturb him while he's sleeping.
That's fair. You know how I chose to deal with that? To scream everything and listen to Metallica when my children were infants, and then play all the podcasts that we've ever done ever at night for them to go to bed to. So now the world will crack in half and my kids will sleep through it.
He wakes up to very specific things. He can sleep through a lot, but very specific things will wake him up.
How old is your son now? 6, 7, 8?
5.
I was close.
Yeah.
Well,
you only went up.
Gavin Napier is with us. I call him a casual hero because I don't know what else to call him, but let me introduce the show proper. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood. And him over there is your host, Robert Winfrey. Hooray!
Hooray! There is no jubilation to be found tonight. There is no mirth. There is no merrymaking. There is no optimism. The existence of this movie is proof of absolute awfulness, and the only comfort it provides is through the law of opposites. Absolute good must exist somewhere in some capacity.
And what movie is that, Robert?
Heaven help us. We are discussing the 2025 variation, I use in air quotes, of War of the Worlds.
Yes, War of the Worlds is in fact a 2025 American screenlife science fiction thriller film based on H.G. Wells' 1898 novel, The War of the Worlds.
The hell it is.
The film was directed by Rich Lee, in theory, with a screenplay by artificial intelligence named Kenneth A. Golde and Marc Hyman, from a story by Golde. It stars Ice Cube from the group NWA, who once told everyone to fuck the police, Eva Longoria, Clark Gregg of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame, Andrea Savage, Henry Hunter Hall, Iman Benson, Devon Bostick, and Michael O'Neill. It was released by Universal Pictures on Amazon Prime on a dare on July 30th, 2025. Hey, get this. It has received negative reviews from critics. Gavin, why are you here? This is not Gavin. You are one of those people. Gavin Napier of the Casual Heroes. You are one of those people who, like Robert Winfrey, only walk through the most lush forest, eating fruit from the finest tree, and yet you come down here where I participate in life like a raccoon, rummaging through the garbage. You know, I don't understand. Why have you joined the raccoon life?
I've seen 3 movies in the last 10 days.
Uh-huh.
I've seen Superman. I've seen Weapons.
Okay.
And I've seen War of the Worlds.
Well, yes, two of those are mistakes.
And you, as the old theme song goes, you take the good with the bad. And sometimes getting down in the raccoon life is entertaining. I mean, Mystery Science Theater made a career out of it. I will argue this is not the right type of bad for Mystery Science Theater. This is not the enjoyable bad. This is not the pleasant bad, so good it's bad. This isn't even Tommy Wiseau bad. This is just bad. But we're going to talk about it anyway.
This is why didn't someone stop them bad?
I wish someone had.
Never have I longed for Tom Cruise more than these 90 minutes.
I would have taken the 1950s version over this.
There was a 2021 film. Jason and I reviewed it on a triple feature, like one of the first iterations of triple feature. It was called Lockdown, and it was a romantic comedy heist film directed by Doug Liman. And it was this kind of a thing where because this was in the midst of COVID, this was a lot of this was like shot on Zoom and stuff like that. But it was done like purposely so because they were commenting on the lockdowns at the time, and that was with Anne Hathaway and the guy that plays Baron Mordo, whose name I can't pronounce. And it worked better. One, it had better actors. Two, it had a better script. It's actually been removed from HBO Max since then, but for reasons we don't know. But I don't mind the concept of, I guess it's called screenlife, which I'd never heard before. I don't mind the concept of that sort of thing, but you have to be very careful with how you execute it. You can't do this. This is almost like a checklist of everything they could have possibly done wrong.
So this kind of film has been done a handful of times. You mentioned Lockdown. A few years back, there was Missing. Before that, there was Searching. Gem and the
there was Googling.
Gem and the Hologram spends a chunk of its time in this kind of a format.
Yeah, they do. It's a lot of YouTube videos.
There's a combination screenlife and found footage horror movie called Megan is Missing, which I don't recommend as a general rule. That does a lot of this. It's one of the lazier aesthetics. I can't call it the laziest, and I certainly don't say that it can't be used to some degree of effect, because I'm sure someone will come out with a good one of these. I just haven't seen it yet. But yeah, the notion that what's the best way to wind down after you've been on Zoom calls all day? Let's watch a Zoom call with Ice Cube.
Thank you, pitch meeting guy.
I stole that from him, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Your thoughts on these screenlife movies, Gavin? Have you seen many of them besides the ones that we mentioned, if any of those at all?
I haven't seen those. This was my first experience with something truly the entire movie exists as a Zoom call and FaceTime. It intrigued me when I heard about the concept, mostly because I could not fathom a way that it would work well for 90 minutes. And I was right, as it turns out. Really about 10 minutes is kind of stretching it, but that's also coming from someone who will viscerally avoid any type of FaceTime calls and makes no video appearances on work conference calls. I'm audio only and will always be audio only. The only reason that I'm participating visually here is because I don't want to be the odd man out. But I was intrigued by the concept when I heard it, and I thought, well, the cast is okay enough that I can at least watch it. And I was wrong about that part as well.
This is gonna be fun tonight.
I can find something good to say about almost anything that I've ever watched. But then we have this. So my initial reaction to this format is it should probably be left behind in that 2020 to 2024 era where people were not allowed to commune with one another. Mm-hmm. Leave this type of filmmaking in that era and don't bring it up again.
There was a Mission Impossible movie, and I think I might have talked to you about it because I think you were on those Long Road to Ruins, where a lot of it was on the computer. And I remember I think it's maybe the third one. And I remember not loving that Mission Impossible movie because of it, because I don't go to the movies to watch another screen. And it's funny to me that like the road from that to this, like how it's gone. Because I think you're right. I think you can creatively but screens are a part of our lives. I spend most of my day on one, being a teletherapist and a TikToker. And then I do this. I think the only time I'm not on screens these days is, when I'm sleeping.
Really turn on your Twitch stream to just show you while you're sleeping. It's apparently a decent audience.
I'm getting to that point of just like, watch me take a nap. So my point is, and then we can move on. I think you can use the screens effectively. I've seen some movies do it, but it takes a special kind of actor. You need to use some fairly creative effects. This does none of those things. Last thing I want to bring up, and then we can get into the plot synopsis. So I know that you two are down with the urban culture. Robert specifically, he is a friend and an ally of the black people, and he is down with OPP. That's what he tells me, at least. You know him. But Gavin, are you
I legitimately don't.
Gavin, are you a fan of Ice Cube and his various works of literature?
I mean, there are aspects of Ice Cube that I do enjoy. Some of the early NWA stuff definitely pops up on my shuffle as I'm making my commute to and from work. And there have been projects where Ice Cube has been acceptable as an actor. I mean, I'm certainly not the target demographic for any of the Friday movies, but I can appreciate them for the type of comedies they are and say that.
I definitely enjoyed the first Friday movie. I was not as big a fan as the
yeah, and I mean,
believe it or not, I have seen those two movies.
For what they're trying to do, they did fine, and he has proven to be at least an adequate actor in a supporting role in certain things. Award-winning, certainly not, but watchable.
He's getting some awards for this.
Yep. He's definitely going to get a couple. I don't know that asking 60-year-old or however old he is, Ice Cube, with a gray beard, looking slightly disheveled, sitting in his apartment to carry a movie is really playing to his strengths.
Yeah, I enjoyed his barbershop movies. And on the occasion that I've seen him in like in a silly action movie, because he's such a character, he can pull it off. I thought he was great in Anaconda. I'm on the record of saying that, but yeah, this was a struggle.
Three Kings too.
Yes, which I've never seen Three Kings, but all right. Unless Robert would like to tell us his long storied history with the NWA and Ice Cube's solo career and the Lynch Mob and West Side Connection, of which he knows all about all of these things, why don't you go into the plot synopsis?
Yeah, this will be quick. So, a Department of Homeland Security operative logs on, and it's Ice Cube. And somehow in this movie, that's about the least believable thing that goes on. He begins his day by spying on his children, hacking into his daughter's smart fridge and lecturing her about her nutritional intake, and deletes a game from his son's Steam account because father-son drama. Then a bunch of meteors fall out of the sky, and a NASA employee decides the best thing to do is walk up to these in street clothes. A bunch of machines pop out of these, the tripods of War of the Worlds fame. Chaos ensues. The Department of Homeland Security apparently gets all its information from CNN, which is tragic beyond belief. And the machines start running around. They blow up a few structures. Everyone gets nervous. There's still some drama where Ice Cube tries to get his daughter to a hospital after she gets injured. He hacks into a Tesla. He calls her the father of her child because who's an Amazon delivery driver, not the first or last reference to Amazon in this Amazon Prime video distributed by Amazon on their streaming service, Amazon Prime, in case you missed it. He's sort of going back and forth with his son, who's like, Dad, there's stuff I have to tell you. And he goes, the world's ending. Shut up. I got stuff to do. Like, sit in this chair. So just keep sitting in the chair. And ultimately, it comes out that these things are after our data because ones and zeros sustain them. They were brought here by the activation of a massive government surveillance program called Goliath, which has been revealed to the public at large by a mysterious hacker revealed to be Ice Cube's son. And Ice Cube then auditions to be on Sesame Street by going, no, it's you. It's you. When he finds out who that hacker is. He then injects a digital virus into the ones and zeros that is absorbed by one of these machines that kills all of them. He then abandons his post because he has lost faith in the government, and he warns the incoming administration, we will be watching, because there's nothing quite like admitting to your digital crimes on the internet with a government official to indicate that this is an intelligent person making good decisions. And that's it. That's this god-awful War of the Worlds.
Kevin, what did you think of this cinematic masterpiece, this 84-minute use of Hollywood production material?
Well, I'm assuming it's a tax write-off for someone.
I would assume.
There had to be some sort of obligation to make this movie somewhere, and they realized if they didn't make it, they were going to lose something. I honestly would have preferred they taken the loss. I would love to have a conversation with the director and the casting agent on how they pitched this legitimately to the actors involved to say, hey, you don't really have to do anything, but do you want to make a movie? And there are plot holes here that we could walk one of the tripods through. The cluelessness of Ice Cube as director of Homeland Security, director of cybersecurity, or whatever he is, and his inability to understand the concept of video game streaming, or the inability to put together what's hiding directly under his nose and in front of his face for what is supposed to be the shocking reveal halfway through the movie to kick off Act 3. It's bad writing, it's terrible directing, it's worse acting, and it never gets better. But it's a movie that I've seen now. It's occupying space in my brain, but it's not the worst movie that I've seen. I've seen worse. Not many, but I have seen worse.
Chris Bailey in with a hot take. Can you order a physical copy of this movie on Amazon? The irony of it would be amazing. This movie also shows that those old LimeWire viruses did have a purpose after all. It's funny, Chris.
I would have been more entertained if they had actually used LimeWire.
At least one of the tripods going to Napster and then just falling over dead would have at least added some comedy to this unintentional tragedy.
Making the progression through Napster, LimeWire, BearShare, realizing that the tripods have contracted computer AIDS, and watching them all just literally melt down into a cascade of ones and zeros.
Just retreat as they say, we can't conquer the humans. The computer technology is so bad. I want to read this because you asked about like the production history, and I think this is fascinating, and I'd like to spend my craft element time discussing it. In September of 2020, hey guys, what was going on in 2020? Huh? In the midst of
not
the
COVID-19.
Not much.
Yes. Me and Alexis were reviewing bad movies because that was all that was out there. In September of 2020, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Ice Cube joined in the lead role in an untitled film produced by Timur Bekmambetov, which would have been directed by Rich Lee with a screenplay by Kenneth A. Golde for Universal Pictures. Universal, on drugs at the time, was intrigued by the project, by said name, use of screenlife technology. Described as having, quote, the look of commercial event film, but the budget of a contained thriller, which also allowed the actors and crew members to work in individual workspaces, which was seen as useful regarding the pandemic's impact on the film industry. In October, Eva Longoria joined the cast. Principal photography took place in late 2020. In 2024, it was revealed to be an adaptation of the 1898 novel War of the Worlds. The film was produced using a screenlife technique that places the audience inside the action through the lens of phones, computers, and tablets. The director added, if aliens invaded today, how would we experience it? Most likely we'd be watching it on our phones. And that way, it's kind of a modern spin on Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. Back then, he used the radio, the most popular technology of the time, to make people believe the invasion was real. Today, that medium is the screen of our devices. Well-intentioned, just poorly executed. Like, this is dumber than shit.
No, this isn't well-intentioned. This is a wild misread of what Welles actually did and accomplished because the medium is wildly different.
Okay. So Ice Cube is terrible. He is...
Yeah, but how is he in the movie?
Woefully miscast. Like, So I want to be fair and kind to Ice Cube, but that doesn't mean I'm going to say nice things about his performance, because those two things are not the same. If you give Ice Cube a gun and say your character is disillusioned by the federal government and wants to bring down a corrupt president, then you've got the right guy. He will growl, he will snarl, he will bring swagger, he will, he will bring street knowledge. He will do all of these things that Ice Cube is known for in his various roles and as a musician, and it'll work just fine. Being fair to his, decades-long acting career. If you want a old, doddering, nerdy tech guy to sit in a chair and emote with his face and react to the world happening on the computer, Ice Cube is not the guy. That's a waste of what he does do well. That is the opposite of the Paul Heyman effect. You are accentuating the things he does badly, and you are hiding the things he does well. Because even at his old, I can see why Ice Cube took this role. He's like, I'm getting older. I can't do XXX anymore, or movies. No, I can't do the movie XXX, that he was in. I can't do.
He was in the sequel, not the original.
The old action roles that he used to. Yes. I've never reviewed those, by the way. It's another fucking giant miss for me and Sean. But anyway, he can't do the movies that he was known for back in his youth, such as it was. So I get that he's trying to redefine himself. And considering earlier this year we had G20 with what was Viola Davis, I get that a lot of these actors are desperately trying to find a new way to stay relevant in Hollywood. I almost feel bad for him. I feel bad for everyone involved in this, because again, I'm going to go with well-intentioned. I don't think anyone was out to make a bad movie. I don't think anyone, I think they believe in what they were doing. They just comes off terrible. The unintentionally funniest line of this movie, and it's said by Ice Cube, and that is what is so unfortunate, because maybe another actor could have pulled this stupid line off, but when said by Ice Cube, it's so much worse. When he starts talking about how they want to eat our data, there's a whole thing he does about they're here to steal our data, and he has to says it serious as the day is long. Serious as a fucking heart attack. He has to say into the camera, the aliens were attracted to Earth because they wanted our data. This is supposed to be a subtle metaphor. And I'm like, oh. The only thing that would have helped that scene is if you could see the cue card he was reading off of. I then would have, would have laughed at the comedy of it all. Instead, I just felt bad for the guy.
If you want another example of his terrible line reading, that the bit where he's doing his presentation after the aliens first land, you can hear the fact that he's reading off of a card. When you listen to enough people speak what they're reading as they're reading it, You get a feel for that. That's all he was doing there.
So I got criticized recently for clearly reading a script on my TikToks, and I'm like, my shit's like 6 minutes long. I can't memorize all that. But the other side of it was I was thinking about like Walter Cronkite and Bill O'Reilly. They were obviously reading a teleprompter, but you use inflection, you use cadence, you use timing. And despite the fact that you're reading it, it still somewhat feels natural. Obviously, if you have two brain cells, you know that these guys are reading these things. But that's what makes them professional news anchors. Their ability to read things and convey some degree of emotion. This is not something Ice Cube possesses. Like, this is... Go ahead, Kevin.
Not to conflate two rappers from yesteryear, both named after the solidified state of water, but it reminded me of the John Mulaney bit about Ice-T on SVU, where Ice-T would very methodically and literally repeat to you the nature of the crime in a way that he was somehow always amazed at what had happened, even though he worked in a sexual crimes unit. So you mean that he liked to take little girls and take their articles of clothing? Yes, Ice-T, that's what a pedophile is. That's what this felt like to me. Only Ice-T makes those reads more effectively on SVU, presumably because SVU is created by a team of people that actually care about the product they're making to some degree, as opposed to this. Yeah, and I don't agree that this was well intentioned by anyone. I think this was lazy and a cash grab during a time when it was the only option they had for a way to work, and they're keeping their SAG cards active.
Okay. I can't even fight you guys tonight. I think, all right, I'm outnumbered. It's fine. A couple of other things I'm going to say, and then I'll throw it over to Robert. I laughed hard at that line, and then Ice Cube trying to sound menacing at the end, like we'll be watching you. It's like, shut up. Just like I get
watching the milk of magnesia in your cabinet is what you're watching as you waddle your way across the bed across the room, old man.
The worst part about Ice Cube like reacting to certain things is that like he's reacting as if he's amazed that technology exists at all. Like someone showed him Google for the first time and he's like, "Oh my god."
Oh man.
As the director of cybersecurity for the Department of Homeland Security, who is amazed by technology.
Yeah. Not the right casting choice. My big problem with this movie, besides the fact that none of it works, is especially the ending. Oh God, that ending is. And we talked about this with like The West Wing. We've talked about this with some other movies. I mean, maybe The Electric State. Your movie is only going to be as smart as your writers, and when your writers are fucking rock stupid, but they're trying to write stuff that it's like the opposite of the Star Trek effect, where they would bring in actual like scientists and engineers as consultants. And a lot of those times they were responsible for writing the gobbledygook that was science speak in the show.
The technobabble.
Technobabble, yeah, that's the word for it. So here, this is clearly written by people who have some rudimentary anxiety about the Patriot Act and surveillance and drones and things like that, and they don't know how to cope with their anxiety, but they're creative people, so they threw it into this movie, but they don't really know how to talk about it in a coherent, competent, adult, mature way. So it just comes off like seventh graders wrote this, and seventh graders acted in it. I
wrote stuff in seventh grade that was better than this.
Of course you did. So if you're Robert, it's written by a 4-year-old, but the average 7-year-old. This feels like the seventh grade stage play at a junior high, and the subject was talk about modern surveillance and the internet. I laughed. So I was watching this with a friend of mine, and she's not a tech person either. But we both laughed our asses off at the scene where he's able to, just by doing a few things, I don't know, using Suno.ai, he's able to unscramble the voice modulator. Oh my god! Like, why
And
did
for
you wait
some
this
reason,
long to do that?
despite having tracked this hacker for months,
Yeah.
never ran it through that program that you have access to.
Right, like he just now thought of that. It's a little too convenient. I will say one nice thing about this movie, because I have to. I have to find. I have to be the once again dig into the archives and be the shit protector, the shit defender. Ice Cube plays a nagging dad really well. Like, I wish like that had just been the movie. You know, it's kind of a comedy about, you know, my old paranoid dad. You know, whose grandfather was in the Tuskegee experiment or something, doesn't trust the government, but he's in the government now, and he's using all the spy technology to like mess with his kids. Kind of a Steve Martin-esque wacky comedy about boundaries. And, you know, it's like nagging his daughter, like, well, you need to eat more protein, and he's nagging his son, deleting his games, and like have to do something madcap like that. Kind of take the spirit of Richard Pryor's Moving with the integrity of Steve Martin's Father of the Bride, and I think you got something here.
You'd have to completely recast it, though.
So that's what I think he does well in the movie, and then the movie has to do the movie stuff and do aliens and shit, and that's where it lost me. Robert?
They bribe a homeless man with $1,000 Amazon gift card.
Oh, you want to talk about the product placement brought to you by Amazon.com?
The line caring about what's in someone's Amazon cart is used more than once.
3 or 4 times at least.
I'm going to be succinct to prove I can. This is bad conceptually, poorly executed, terribly written, and pathetically acted. This movie exists to boost the self-esteem of everyone out there struggling to create something in the artistic space, because this piece of crap got made and released. Yours is not worse than this, I promise you.
I made it through the movie. I made it start to finish.
Fucking sounds like an endurance test.
I mean, so by comparison, when I said that I've seen worse.
Hang on. Did you watch this by yourself? Did you watch this with your son? Did you watch this with your wife? Did you watch this with a combination of these people?
Just by myself.
Oh.
No. He saved them. He spared them. He did the right thing.
Okay.
Who did you inflict this on, Mark?
One of my friends.
My wife is more apt to binge a television show. She's not a big fan of movies.
Okay.
And this is not something that my son would have sat still for. Big fan of Inside Out and Inside Out 2. Not so much this.
That's fair.
But I made it through this. Now, granted, it was a short 90 minutes. And so if I have to say something good about this, it's the fact that they did contain it to 90 minutes instead of turning it into a self-indulgent 2 hour and 45 minutes pseudo epic on a Zoom call. By contrast, I made the mistake at some point of trying to watch Megalopolis.
Oh boy.
And I made it about halfway through, and if you ever have the privilege of conversing with Jed again, he and I discussed at length about how for a few months Megalopolis made me doubt whether I even really liked movies. I did. There was a stretch.
Starting with last year, Jesse takes a line out of every one of our reviews for a full song, kind of encapsulating the year in review. That line's going in it.
Considering that last year's line was from me and 2024 made me doubt comedy as a concept.
Well, there was a stretch of a few weeks where I generally just didn't want to watch anything because something would remind me either of a cast member or something that I had seen in Megalopolis or what Megalopolis had aspired to be, and it would just make me think about Megalopolis again, and I just couldn't do it. It took a while for me to recover from that. This is throwaway bad. They in an era where so many action movies, whether it's sci-fi action, comic book action, gets accused of being disaster porn. This gives us, to date myself, the USA Up All Night version of disaster porn. It's barely a notch above stock footage created with AI. Everything about it, to quote everyone's favorite John Lovitz character, it stinks.
Yeah. Sometimes when we watch
they
movies
use
like
the
this,
same reaction shot of Ice Cube 4 or 5 times in a row. If you watch close enough, you can see it. That's
so
how
there's
lazy
another
this
compliment
thing
for
is.
them. They were efficient.
sometimes when we watch movies like this, I will, say, well, at least the actors gave serviceable performances. They did not. This is like it was almost like they did a producers and just went out of their way to create unlikable characters, bad performances, sets that would rival a last minute thrown together bit on Saturday Night Live. And my favorite thing is to try to create a third act action set piece. Is Ice Cube running around in an area that is filled with like red smoke and a red lens, and they're just shaking the camera because he can't do all those things.
And then he says, "Move, bitch, get out the way."
Yeah, he didn't even do like his own line. He should have been like, he should have been like, "Yo, I'm coming straight out of Compton," and then shove the guy, instead of like do Mystic. Why are you doing Mystical's bit? He said to the two whitest guys he's ever podcasted with. Ugh.
That's not true, and you know it.
What? Well, it's true. Alexis isn't.
I am.
Anything else, Robert?
I legitimately can't say a single positive thing about this movie.
It's so funny. Like, again,
there's the editorial equivalent of a boom mic in it. I can't say anything nice.
When I swear to God, I threw this on here and didn't even know what it was, and then I saw what it was, and I laughed so hard. I was like, I have to do this now. I don't think I was prepared for how bad this was. Like, I honestly had that special brand of Mark Radulich hope that this would at least give us something to talk about, and I'm stalling to just drag this out at this point. So.
As a thrice rejected Black Mirror script directed by the laziest and most uncreative people in Hollywood, filled with the most uninterested actors that I've ever seen in my life, still incapable of delivering even the shoddiest screenplay that I may have ever seen put together, it still doesn't live up to any expectation that you would have for that. The one truly joyously shocking moment that I had in this that brought me any amount of true glee was seeing the wonderful Jim Meskimen on camera for a handful of minutes, and then I just felt bad that he was attached to the project.
I'm glad the check cleared. That's about all I got for this one. There's a famous bit of advice that Christopher Lee gave actors.
Try.
And it's something that's important.
Okay.
Because he's told these young actors, he was on the set of some movie or whatnot, and because he's Christopher Lee and he's already done like 100 movies by this point when he gives this, he says to his colleagues, "You will inevitably be part of a bad movie. Every actor is. What's important is not to be bad in it." No one here got that advice.
So I'm going to end this conversation thusly. At what point does putting stuff like this hurt Amazon?
Amazon is impossible to hurt.
Okay, let me throw it out there for everybody else, Speedy. The idea is to get people to interact with the platform. Now, obviously, people interacting with the shopping end of it, it's obvious, biggest end, is not an issue. People at this point, internet shopping is essentially going to Amazon. Like when people think about buying stuff off the internet, they just think of Amazon. To a lesser extent, some of the Temu type places, but for the most part, if you need something, it is now ingrained in the culture to buy it off Amazon. The idea for Amazon Prime is to have you interact with that element of it, that part of the streaming service. That's every streaming service: Netflix, Disney Plus, Max, whatever they're calling it this week, Paramount Plus, etc.
They're rebranding that to HBO Max again because someone was stupid and decided to change it in the first place.
That would be David Zaslav.
I am aware. My point is,
how hasn't he been tarred and feathered and ridden out of Hollywood on a rail by this point?
There's obviously a handful of TV shows that Amazon has won awards for that are quite good, that are very popular. But I can't say that about their movies. Like the Netflix movie as a cultural thing, I think people can wrap their head around and go, I'm willing to take a flyer on a Netflix and chill night with a Netflix movie because by and large, the average person, not you two, fucking hypercritics, but the average person will like most of what they see on Netflix. I'm starting to think you can't make that claim with Amazon Prime movies, this being a great example of this. And how many more times can they do this, Gavin, before people start to associate don't watch movies on Amazon? They're all terrible.
I'll be honest, I don't know that anyone associates movies with Amazon. Mm-hmm. I think when we talk about Amazon's created content, people are more apt to think of the Top Gear continuation, the Grand Tour. They're apt to think of Clarkson's Farm, the James May projects that have been watchable. Listen, just full transparency here. Anytime I watch anything, I've got my eye patch on with the parrot on my arm and the peg leg. I'm not going through any legitimate means. So if any of these are not actually Amazon shows, please feel free to correct me. Reacher is watchable as a mindless, dumb action show, and at least the casting for the lead in that is far more accurate than Tom Cruise was as Reacher. So they do watchable things in terms of television shows. The Marvelous Miss Maisel was, I think, very well received. Off the top of my head, other than
for them,
pardon,
Invincible's a pretty decent hit for them.
Yeah, as you know, animated comic book shows, Invincible, I've enjoyed.
The Boys is obviously very popular.
But off the top of my head, other than this steaming pile that we subjected ourselves to, I don't know that I could name a movie from Amazon for you. Television shows, certainly. I don't know that I could give you a movie off the top of my head.
I'll give you quite a few because we've reviewed a lot of them, unfortunately for Robert. But
go ahead, hit me, remind me, refresh my memory with all the things from Amazon Prime exclusively that we've reviewed, Mark. It'll be a good time.
Jackpot. That was the John Cena Aquafina
I remember.
Movie. I did watch that.
Stop staring at me blankly, psycho.
I want you to just give me the list.
I did watch Jackpot as terrible action comedies go. It was a terrible action comedy.
Simu Liu is a blight on the entertainment industry.
Okay, list of Amazon Prime original films.
All right.
We will go all the way to to this year. So, I will be eventually reviewing Heads of State, but we haven't done that one yet.
You really shouldn't do that to yourself, but you're going to anyway, so just be forewarned.
G20.
It's John Cena and Idris Elba get saved by a very frumpy Israeli woman.
Wonderful. Okay, so you haven't done all of these, but I've done all of these. So there was G20, which Jesse and I did with Viola Davis.
And you should not have.
Holland, which Mick and I did with Nicole Kidman. You're Cordially Invited, which Mick, Mac, and I did. Mick, Mac, Paddywhack, give a dog a bone. Let's see. Now we're into 2004. Oh boy.
The last thing I remember that was like a movie that I saw them release was The Aeronauts, which we didn't review, but I remember it existing.
Yeah, we have... Okay, so we did Jackpot, which I said. We did not do the second My Spy movie. We did Space Cadet. Remember Space Cadet? We like Space Cadet.
We actually did kind of like that. That was refreshing.
Oh, boy. Roadhouse. We did... no, you and I didn't do Roadhouse. That I did with Andrew and Sean.
You didn't want me on that. Believe me.
We did not do Ricky Stenicki.
But John Cena pisses himself more than once.
Oh, fabulous.
I've seen clips.
I've reviewed Saltburn with Neil and Chris.
How'd that go for you?
It's a lot of penis. We did not do, speaking of penises, we did not do Candy Can Lean. Boy.
Allow me to make my point about this, if you would, Mark.
Yeah, sure. I'll just interrupt you when I find something else to scream out.
You asked how long until this hurts them?
Yeah.
Allow me to reiterate. You cannot hurt Amazon. I don't know that the federal government could hurt Amazon at this point. They're a worldwide company.
Oh no, they're going to be they're going to be in charge of the world sooner than later.
And in certain places, it'll be better for it. I don't know where that is. Will vary depending on your thought process, I suppose. Look, this is an organization that spent so much money on the Rings of Power that it should be illegal for something that bad.
What a Ponzi scheme that was.
Hang on, still going on, by the way, because it started to be speculated that when they signed to get those rights, they guaranteed 5 seasons. And I'll let you think about the catastrophic failure that represents. Around the same time, they did the Wheel of Time for 3 seasons before canceling it. Here's how unwieldy Amazon is, but how big and impregnable it is.
We did Samaritan in 2022. Still going, by the way. Keep going.
Yeah, that's a thing we did. They had the rights to the Wheel of Time series. This is one of the more popular epic fantasy. It's like the best American epic fantasy novel series that exists. Giant fan base. Amazon owns the rights to adapt it. They start adapting it. They're so unwieldy that they couldn't come up with special editions or any sort of merchandising linking between their live action expensive television series and any number of books or anything else that they could have released related to that. They don't care. This company is so big, it makes more in advertising than it does in sales, and consider how much they sell. So nobody cares that they make crap. They care that the check clears.
Step further, like what difference? Why even put these movies out if nobody watches them? Because they're so terrible.
Because it gives them a degree of prestige, and because there's a subset of people there who are like, yeah, let's make crap, and this gives us an opportunity to launder money.
Gavin would like to speak on this.
As the old saying goes, the world is fake, wrestling is real. And so I will pull us into the Wayback Machine about 30 years ago when WCW in theory existed as an independent company underneath the umbrella of Turner Networks. But in reality, it existed to catch the debt and the collateral damage from every other company. Now, that's not to say that WCW was well ran or well managed financially in terms of advertising, in terms of how they operated. It was a disaster every step of the way because they kept hiring executives from Pizza Hut to run a wrestling company. It didn't work. But WCW was still a part of the Turner Corporation, and it existed to absorb the bad debt from everywhere else. And nobody really cared whether WCW was good or not, as long as they could shovel crap into it. And it kind of feels like that's what Amazon Prime movies are. It's a place for them to offload bad debt and to point and say, yeah, this lost $3 billion this year, but the rest of the company was pure profit. And so, to Robert's point, bad movies are never going to hurt Amazon. It doesn't matter how much they pay for the rights. It doesn't matter how much they overpay on salary. And it doesn't matter how few people watch them. It doesn't matter. They can never lose enough money on them, and it will never be enough of a PR hit to keep a 53-year-old housewife from bulk ordering paper towels and every other household essential to show up on their doorstep on a revolving basis, because it's far too convenient to be bothered by War of the Worlds and say, no, that's a bridge too far for me. I'm not going to support Amazon anymore.
It's funny. You say that because last year when we talked about Red 1, and we were like, this has lost a metric fuck ton of money.
It did, but it's Amazon.
And
it's a rounding error.
It was the only, because everyone gets on our case about, like, Superman didn't make enough money. Fantastic Four didn't make enough money. They may or may not be technically profitable, but they didn't make the money that it was worth greenlighting these movies for with the amount of money they were greenlit for. There was one of those cases where Robert and I don't make that claim with Red One because it didn't matter. Whether or not it made money was irrelevant. It was an Amazon movie. It was in theaters because The Rock is an insane person.
You have to understand how much money Amazon makes in a given 6-month period.
Mm-hmm.
What they spent on Red One is a functional rounding error when you make that much money.
Right. Okay, so why War of the Worlds 1? Because I like torturing Robert. 2, because we had a spot open in 3, and now it gave us a chance to document the continued oligarchy that is Amazon.com.
Yeah, it's going to be more in charge than anything else sooner rather than later.
Get used to it, kids. Gavin, got anything else before we move on to the next thing?
In a fair and just world, this would be a career killer for everyone involved. But other than Ice Cube and Eva Longoria, I'm not sure that any of them had any substantial careers left anyway. So maybe this will put both of them out of our agony. And
even Eva Longoria is a stretch there. The last thing she did was direct a movie that Biden slept through with his pudding brain.
Hey, she was also a side character in the last season of Only Murders in the Building.
Uh-huh.
And, maybe this is the end of Agent Coulson. Maybe it ends his involvement in the Marvel Universe as well. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but I'm also not real excited about the Marvel Universe anymore either. So
no one is.
So say we all. All right. Well,
am I glad that I watched this movie? Not particularly, but happy to hop on here and discuss with you, Joe.
Yeah, it's always a fun time. I have smiled. This is the happiest I've been on Damn You Hollywood in years. I'm like smiling ear to ear. I'm like, my face hurts. All right, because I'm weird. Well, folks, here comes the Amazon.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All right. Well, obviously there is no budget for this. This thing was made for 2 shillings and a halfpenny. So who cares? But we will talk about the domestic weekend. So Robert will be reviewing Weapons tomorrow. What are you crying about?
How far? Fantastic Four falling below both Weapons and Freakier Friday.
In its 3rd week, yes.
Also, a little bit, that's got to be an underperformance from Freakier Friday to fall to a low-budget horror, higher concept horror movie.
Well, it probably by a function of how much was spent versus people going to see it, Freakier Friday will probably be more profitable than Snow White, which at this point is all I think anyone at Disney cares about. So Weapons,
I will say, Weapons, we won't get into a review or anything. I'll let you save that for the proper review show. There's been more buzz around Weapons than virtually any horror movie that I can think of in quite a while, where whether I'm at work, whether I'm in the line at Target, or I'm talking to people online and just scrolling social media, everybody seems like they're talking about it in some form or fashion. I saw it at the latest showing in a fairly rural area. Start time was listed as 10:30, so after previews and commercials, we were getting started about 5 after 11.
That's about right.
And the theater was half full on a Sunday night. So it definitely had some substantial buzz. Whether it lived up to your expectations or not, I'll leave that up to whoever. But I do know that it has, at least in my little pocket of the world, a lot of buzz about it.
It's been getting a lot of reaction from people coming out of it too. This and I think Sinners were the ones this year that have generated a degree of actual discussion after the fact. Because last year or the year before there was Longlegs, which had a lot of pre-movie hype.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the actual movie, which I enjoyed, but was not what it was hyped to be.
Last year, the big one was Late Night with the Devil.
Well, that one didn't get hyped as much. Like, if we're talking about our enjoyment, yes.
I don't know, man.
enjoyed
I heard
it.
a lot of hype about but maybe that was after the movie came out, like in retrospect.
Yeah, like no, that's after the fact because you talk with a bunch of people like me who don't mind talking about that. But like Longlegs was the movie that was being touted as like the best horror movie since Silence of the Lambs, stuff like that. And it's not that. I enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoy most of Osgood Perkins stuff, but yeah. So we'll be reviewing as mentioned. We'll be reviewing Weapons tomorrow. And how'd it do, Mark?
Well, Weapons did 43 million domestic. Was the #1 movie of the weekend. Freakier Friday debuted at number 2 with 28 million. Fantastic Four fell to number 3 in its third week. The Bad Guys fell 2 to 4. Naked Gun 3 to 5. Superman 4 to 6. Jurassic World 5 to 7. F1 7 to 8. Together, which they reviewed last week, 6 to 9. Sketch. Is this the movie? Was this the sneaker movie? Or is that something else? Okay.
Sketch isn't Sketch, isn't that from Angel Studios?
It is.
I've seen previews.
Okay.
The basic premise is there's a magic pond that repairs things or brings them to life if they're humanoid, and a slightly disaffected girl's sketchbook of monsters falls into it.
Okay. Well, that debuted at number 10. I Know What You Did Last Summer fell from 8 to 11. Smurfs 9 to 12. How to Train Your Dragon 10 to 13. My Mother's Wedding debuted at 14. It's Never Over. Jeff Buckley debuted at 15. Strange Harvest from Roadside Attractions debuted at number 16. I think that's been delayed a few years. Like I remember that being
certainly.
On the list. I feel like that's been on like the movie list now for a while, and it kept getting pulled. So that was the weekend. That was not a lot of surprises there. Worldwide, Nija is still number 2. Lilo and Stitch number 1. Lilo and Stitch still number 2. Minecraft still number 3. Jurassic World sitting at 800 million, comfortably at number 4. How to Train Your Dragon comfortably at 600 million. Mission Impossible just under 600 million. Superman. Say it again for the people in the cheap seats. Wildly underperformed.
Underperformed. In all likelihood, is going to lose them money.
Yeah. I'm really getting.
Who give Mark grief about this? I'm going to say it again.
Yeah. Okay, are we doing this now? Do you want me to wait to because we were going to do this live on the air, like bring up that TikTok and just go through some of those comments that annoyed the fucking piss out of me.
Okay, we can save it for that. I'll yell about it after that's done.
My understanding on Superman to this point is that it kind of exceeded domestic expectations, but failed miserably everywhere else.
Yeah, the rest of the world's not a huge fan of Superman or the United States at this time.
That's about the size of it. And look, when you spend $250 producing it, another $150, $180 marketing it, you have to double the $380 or so that you spent.
Yeah, you need $750 to $800.
Congratulations, it's not making it. That means you lose money. This is not complicated.
Right, but it's like people don't seem to understand what the definition of words mean. We talk about this every week, I feel like. I don't want to keep going into it, but if I say I like the movie, but it didn't make what it was supposed to, and then someone says, but it made this, I'm like, okay, that doesn't stop challenging what I just said with stuff that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you liked it, and it doesn't matter that it made a lot more money than some other movies did. It didn't make enough. I don't know why this is complicated, but it seems to people seem to really struggle with it to the point where like I'm getting sick of talking about it. Speaking of which, Fantastic Four is at 435. That's another one that underperformed. It beat Captain America and Thunderbolts though. Hooray!
It's probably not going to beat F1 though.
Probably not. The sleeper hit of the summer.
Hey, make an original movie aimed at men and have it not suck. Who'd have thought?
All right. So
this is
Gavin,
rocket science or something.
Last week or so, I did a TikTok on Superman and Fantastic Four, and I've done a couple of these now on Superman and Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four stuff didn't seem to bother people, but like I somehow waded into a fucking minefield with Superman.
Look, I freely accept that a lot of the Snyder Bro subculture of fandom kind of sucks. The gun cultists are no better.
Yeah, to say the least. So this is the TikTok that I did. I don't need to play it for you. This was essentially This came from a discussion from a previous Damn You Hollywood in the money section, and ChatGPT took it out, made a script out of it, and I even went back through it again. I'm like, pull today's numbers. Let's go. I pulled Variety articles. This is this is what I do with ChatGPT. It's my research assistant essentially. I'm like, pull Variety articles, pull Hollywood Reporter, pull this reporting, pull that reporting. And then it kind of goes through, and we go through each one of these things. I'm like, pull this, I'm like, okay, what do we got here? Like, sum it all up for me. And it does that, and I go, okay, well, there's my script. Boom. Now reduce this to a 4th grade reading level and make it a minute long. Wonderful. There's my TikTok. I speak to the masses. So I did that here, and I felt good about myself because I was like, I've done the due diligence. I've done journalism like journalism isn't done today. I have cited research. I have fact-based everything. And yet, Gavin...
Your journalistic integrity puts the Salt Lake Tribune to shame, and I say that because they're a rag that operates not too far from me, and I'm tempted to burn them down every now and then.
Aren't you in enough trouble? And then I am challenged. I am challenged, Gavin, despite my journalistic integrity. I am challenged. Can you imagine, Gavin? Can you imagine that?
Can't imagine.
I know, right? All right, so I have 28 comments here. Superman didn't flop. This is from Chuckster from 4 days ago. Everything about this pains me. Superman didn't flop. It didn't break records, but no way is it a flop. It is a flop. Robert, 2 seconds, explain why.
Because it needs to make at least $700 million to really be profitable. It's not going to make that. It's therefore a money loser. Therefore, flop is not an inaccurate descriptor. It's not a bomb, but it's flopping. It's complicated, people.
Okay, the Damon talk. $1 billion is not the standard. It never is the standard. Yes, it is, you dumbass.
And if I may quote myself on this one, if you spend $500+ million producing and marketing it, it is. Otherwise, you don't make money. This was the problem that Justice League had.
Summer was supposed.
All right. Let's get down here. Superman will probably finish its theatrical run at around $600 million, and while that might be a little shy of the mark you want to see for blockbuster tempos, it is both profitable and encouraging. No, it isn't.
It is.
No, it isn't.
Do we have to do the math again, people? This isn't hard.
It's great. We are now failing Basic Edition.
Production, marketing, double it. That's what you need at the box office.
The total cost would actually be 2.5 multiples. So Superman, although not blowing out the doors on the box office, is not a flop. Plus, add in the merchandising, and it's doing fine. What fucking merchandising, you toaster oven? We don't live in that world anymore. I don't know if you fucking noticed. Jesus fucking Christ. Kids aren't buying toys because they're on screens. They don't play with, past the age of 3, kids don't play with toys anymore. Okay, they do electronics, number 1. Number 2, and even if you're like, but I have 10 kids on my block and they're all playing with toys, not enough to make up the fucking difference. Please stop doing drugs. Number 1. Number 2, you're talking about Blu-ray and DVD, which nobody buys anymore unless you're weird, because again, everyone streams everything. I don't understand how this got past people.
So, not to rehash anything that I'm sure you all have probably already discussed in regards to Superman, I think that it can be a financial disappointment and an overall success for what they want to achieve long term simultaneously. I think similar to what we're seeing with the Fantastic Four right now, Superman is carrying the baggage of a lot of failed projects for DC. There is no inherent trust in the DC brand at any point going forward, and it's going to have to be rebuilt. Personally, I mostly enjoyed Superman. In stark contrast to Man of Steel, which Mark knows how I felt about Man of Steel and everything Snyder-ish related to it, it wasn't for me. And so in stark contrast to Man of Steel, I thought this was a good Superman movie, and I thought it was a good place to restart. As much as I liked it, As much overall optimism as it may give for future DC projects, and as much of a lovely foundation as it may have established going forward, it's still not a financial success by any stretch.
No, but that's all the argument. We did a craft review. Ben was on it. He was treated kindly. Robert read a book. It was great. Best podcast I've ever done. We went through all of that. But what I'm trying to illustrate, rather painfully, is that there's a difference between appreciating the craft of the movie, having a subjective enjoyment of it, and analyzing its financial achievement. People get stuck on that last one and conflate it with the first one a lot.
Yeah.
And the fact that we go through this every single week and we don't get any headway with people is really frustrating. Like, it does make me consider why I bother to, like, try to talk to people about this stuff. But I like talking to my friends, and I like having a venue for some of my weird thoughts. So I will continue to do podcasting and TikToking. But boy, sometimes do I feel a little bit like a hamster on a wheel? Kinda.
I don't know if I've ever told you this or not, Mark, but the world is fake and wrestling is real.
I believe I've heard that somewhere before, but I can't quite place where.
It's never about the quality of the programming, the quality of the long-term booking, the quality of the matches. It's not about the production quality. It's about the size of the audience. The size of the audience determines what's good and what's not. Because, as you know, people are dumb. So people become emotionally attached to these projects, and they develop parasocial relationships with everything because of the nature of our society being connected only through screens rather than building actual true interpersonal relationships. And so if the product or the production that they like is not financially viable, they don't even realize that they feel threatened by that, but they feel threatened by that, and they feel the need to argue vehemently that what they like is not a failure in any way, even though by every objective measure it financially is. Yeah, and it's okay if it is.
It is that mentality that is contributing to the ruining of school and learning, but that's a whole other subject.
Boy, is it.
From Bear With Me, which is the best TikTok name ever. Superman is profitable. No, it isn't. Fantastic Four is not. That is correct. Superman didn't flop, but hey, you probably know more than the CEO of WBD. Get him, Robert.
What we aren't going to do is lie to you for the sake of our stock prices.
We're also not hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, desperately clinging to our careers.
Oh, this is even better. This guy Johnny Antonio goes further. It didn't. They already working on a sequel, yo. And nobody is 2 words, knows for sure. I refuse to be lectured by people who fail grammar. Anyway, no body who fucking wrote this reffin knows for sure movie budgets and marketing costs. All numbers are the letter R estimates, and studios have their own deals with theaters. No 2 words. Nobody knows how ticket sales are split.
Yes,
get him. Wait, hang on. Get him, Raw. Bert.
Okay. Yes, we do. You want to know how we know? Because this all has to be disclosed. It is legally incumbent upon them to release this stuff. They don't always release it in a timely manner, but if everyone who does the reporting on this all comes to the same number, it's usually about that, probably a little underreported because that's how these things go. But this is the rough equivalent of going, everybody, I don't believe there's a war between between Russia and Ukraine, because really Putin says there isn't, and who am I to disbelieve what Vladimir Putin says? He runs an entire country. Guys, yes, there is some variability with the ticket split between movies and theaters. That's true, little variability. It's usually a little more front-loaded towards the production company and a little more back-loaded towards the theater. That's why we average it to 50%. I guarantee you this, Superman was not getting 60%. I guarantee you they weren't getting 60 of every ticket.
So here's another one. I didn't realize, because I'm a dickbag, I gotta shake my chair when I do this. I didn't realize, smear that butter on the toast, that making $400 million worldwide in 3 weeks was a flop. That's not mentioning, here we go again, all the home video releases, rentals, and other deal sequels and merchandise sales the film will make in the upcoming years.
Okay. It's a flop if you make 400 million in 3 weeks and none of that actually gets you to profitability. Moron. This isn't complicated. Yes, $400 million is more money than you, me, or most of us are going to ever see in our combined lifetimes. If I spent $380 million on this movie, and of the 400 million it made, I get 2, I've still lost money. How is this complicated? Okay. Second, home video rentals are not a thing. It's a dead market. Nobody's going to Blockbuster. Most people don't even buy these things for the holidays anymore because nobody makes DVDs or Blu-rays. That used to be a really important part of the movie industry, was the second wave of money you got from video. That's gone, and it's a bad thing that it's gone, but I can't bring it back by wishing.
Okay, so I asked a question in my headline here. Superman flops, Fantastic Four falters. Are superhero movies finally out of our lives? And my New York City 012270 said no, because we're having a conversation, he and I now. No, because Captain America didn't suck.
Yes, it did.
And I think it made more money than both these trash movies. and Ronnie in with the save in the steel chair. Captain America: Brave New World made $415 million total, $200 million domestically against a budget of $180 million. That's a flop. Thank you, Ronnie.
He's correct. First of all, that budget wildly underreported.
Considering they had to reshoot the movie and re-edit it. And then the last two here from one of the many cultists. Zavi, Fantastic Four sequel has been confirmed, so your theory is off the mark. Oh, thank you.
No. What?
Oh, good.
At what point does us saying the movie didn't make money have anything to do with Disney throwing money at a sequel? No one's disputing that they're going to still soldier on with another one of these things. If Mark had said they're going to stop making them, well, no, then you'd have an argument, because clearly they're intending to make more.
That's the thing, is I don't think they're done with James Gunn's Superman universe either. You know, I just said I don't think they're going to throw lots of money at this, and I think that people are going to be more closely watching than they were before. My comment about Superman and James Gunn was, I don't think they're going to be as confident in James Gunn as they might have been. I think he'll be watched closely, and the purse strings will be held tightly. I didn't say they weren't going to make any more of these, though it wouldn't surprise me either, because WB is run by 3 raccoons in a coat. Lastly, your math is off. You need to take into consideration merchandising.
No, we don't.
Digital release.
I do have a question about that.
Wait, and streaming. Fantastic Four just kickstarted a franchise that is going to get more exposure in Doomsday, just like a year and a half from now, in a sequel that has been confirmed. We know dickbag that wasn't. I fucking hate these people. Oh my god.
So go on, Gavin. Not so much about digital releases, because that's still a ways off, and but I know that this was Superman, pronouns pal. This was sort of an experiment and a test run with the 3-day prior to official theatrical release. You could see it early under WB, Amazon Prime, some sort of synergy there.
Amazon Prime, yes.
At an elevated ticket price. Are there numbers on what that box office total looks like, or did it just get lumped in with regular first weekends? I can't imagine it did
well, or we'd have heard about it by now. I mean, Variety and The Hollywood Reporter are kind of in the pocket of the studio. So if they had a press release they could have read, they would have.
That's fair.
I haven't heard anything.
I imagine it kind of just got lumped in, would be my hunch. And if it had been a big deal, they would have said contributing to this big opening weekend was this big number for this new thing we're trying. Yeah. And they kind of just quietly went, yeah, we did a thing. We'll see how it goes.
Also, and maybe I'm foolishly optimistic here, but I'm going to be foolishly optimistic for a moment.
Be as optimistic as you want. Somebody needs to be able to know.
I do think we're closer to the death of the Marvel thing than people mostly realize.
Yeah.
I think
we've been saying that a while, but here's your turn to say it.
I think it's been bad for a while. I think there have been a couple of glaring exceptions that have been well-made well acted, engaging either television shows or movies, but they have been increasingly farther and farther between, to the point that you see that they've lost the trust of their audience. And I know that Jonathan Majors did them no favors with his off-camera antics that caused them to divert course very rapidly. But amongst all of the giddiness at the announcement, the Robert Downey Jr. thing just absolutely reeks of desperation.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that, Mark, I know I sent you the Twitter link. I don't know if Rob has seen it or not. And you take it with a grain of salt, given the source is the guy that got booted from X-Men 97. But there are cracks showing in the foundation of the creative process in the back rooms of MCU. And whether it's overall fatigue, whether it's the fact that they have shifted their audience away from the traditionally 18 to 35 male demographic that dominates comic book and fantasy and sci-fi, and they've overextended trying to rope in these new demographics and audiences, or it's because they've just ran out of ideas and refused to use the material that's readily available to adapt. Whatever it is, I think they've backed themselves into a corner, and I don't see another 10 years for Marvel.
No, you're echoing the same thing that we've said. I said after Secret Wars were done, I think it's a good 5 years off. You know, you look at, with the exception of like a couple of shows that had already been in the can that they kind of had to release, look how long it's taken to get anything new from Star Wars. Yeah. Now, if somebody runs in the fucking room in the comments or, into my frame here with a steel chair and hits me and goes, but some stupid ass cartoon. That's not what I mean, you autistic people. I am talking about movies, major motion picture in theater movies. We have not seen one of those since what? Return of the Ray Skywalker, whatever the fuck the movie was called.
I can't remember if Solo came out after.
It did not.
Okay, then yeah, it's Rise of Skywalker, and the less said about it, the better. It was a general rule.
So and that was 2019. There has not been that I can recall. There has not.
I have been reliably informed, Mark, that Rian Johnson had a Star Wars trilogy, and they're actively working on another Rey movie.
Yeah, sure.
Feel free to do that all you want. I agree with you. I am making fun of everything that comes out of that company.
My point is, they've taken upwards of now 5 years off of anything theatrical, and everyone's like, but Ahsoka, but the Skeleton Crew, but the Acolyte. Okay. If it's not in theaters, they don't count. And a lot of this stuff was, again, shot and produced and shot over the last couple of years. There was no way it wasn't going to come out. But
they should have canned the Acolyte.
Sure. It's just Star Wars has been a dead brand for a while. And when it finally goes back in theaters, at least they can rest on the idea of like, well, as far as major theatrical releases, this had some time off. Watch Marvel do the same. Will there be dribbles of things coming out on Disney Plus? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know what other Ironhearts they've got in the can that they're just hanging on to. But I would tell you, after Secret Wars comes out in 2027. Yeah,
allegedly at the moment.
Yeah. If, on paper currently. Doomsday is December of 2026, and then Secret Wars is 2027. You won't see another Marvel movie until sometime in the 2030s. If they're smart, it'll if they're smart, not until at least 2035. Give this 5 to 10 years off. Yeah. It really needs that much time to heal. This is a body that went through the windshield and then got dragged by a truck and peed on by a dog, and is now in the full body cast. It needs time.
Yeah, and look, we've got the Spider-Man movie coming out that I'm sure will do fine numbers because I would have loved to have been in the
writer's room when they're working on that, and because it's supposed to take place on Battleworld, and they get the memo. Like, yeah, it's now coming up before Doomsday. You have to rewrite this, and everyone just throws the fucking bits in the air. There's a guy going, I quit. No, come back.
I mean, there's someone on. This has been confirmed at this point. Like, they started shooting Doomsday. Mm-hmm. They've cast everyone who was ever in the MCU.
They started shooting Doomsday. They don't have a finished script yet.
Yeah, they finally have allegedly a finished script. They started shooting this thing with someone walking around with a notebook. They hired everyone except Scarlett Johansson because she sued them, rightly, mind you. And they're giving every major actor on this like at least $10 million. The budget on casting alone for this is going to bury that movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But when it does $400 or $500 million, I'm going to get told on TikTok that that it's not a flop because we have failed math for the past 30 years.
Because they spent $350 million, but it was for 2 movies. Mark, they shot them back to back.
Sure. All right, let's go ahead and move to the
deluded sycophants.
Sheer fucking hubris. All right,
how dare you?
Let's go to our last segment here, and I have a surprise for everybody.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So, right before the show started, this has his 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's up from 0, so that's growth. And then it's like a 22% on the audience meter.
This movie is, to Robert's point, the existence of this means that there is something good in the world. This started at 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Weapons started at 100%. Weapons has dropped to like 97, 96%. Mm-hmm. This has crept up to 3%. These movies are the polar opposites.
Yeah, very much.
I'm pretty sure that I would almost guarantee you that the review squad from BET and OWN, the ones who gave this piece of crap a positive review, are the ones saying Weapons is no good.
So it would be too easy to read all the Rotten reviews, and I'm sure they're funny. I wanted to do something different. I was inspired a couple of months ago by the 4 volumes of comments that were turned into songs, because God bless artificial intelligence, for the Snow White trailer. I didn't have that kind of time. I kind of had this moment of wouldn't it be funny? And then I had no time to do this. So this is my so this is a slapdash attempt at making fun of the comments in this movie through the use of AI generated music. That's what I'm doing. Right. What I did was I had I sent ChatGPT to Rotten Tomatoes and I said, grab all the negative, but these are the audience reviews. I said, grab the audience reviews.
Oh no!
And it got some of them. It didn't get them all. I got a consensus summary of basically what people thought of it. And I'm like, great, write a rap song. So here it is, the fruits of my slapdash labor. This is a musical representation of the fan comments on Rotten Tomatoes for War of the Worlds.
Yo. Longest Amazon I'd ever seen. Ice Cube at his desk, stuck on the screen. Fast forward, man, just to find a plot. Still same old shot. Nah, this ain't hot. Can't recommend it not to anyone. Have a star, yeah, that's generous, son. If the crew's out there and they hear this rhyme, let me write your script, save you next time. This ain't war, this ain't the world. It's a mess, like a bunch of sci-fi in a thrift store dress. I shut it off quick, yeah, that's how it ends. No invasion, no thrill, just never again.
All right, there's 20 more seconds of that.
That was
you know what? You have made worse things than that.
Gavin, I didn't get what you said.
So that was better than the movie.
Yes.
Thank you. I tried hard. With
Absolutely.
If nothing else, it was much shorter.
Yes. Brevity is a word that doesn't get used enough these days. All right. Do we really need to do the Rotten Tomatoes thing, or can we just end the show?
I want to see who gave this a positive review. I have to know.
I will do that very quickly. I think that's worth doing, but because I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of these.
And I imagine you'll try to marry me off to at least one of them.
You know me far too well. So there are 32 critical reviews. Yeah.
Are you going to share your screen?
Your mother. Here we go. There we go.
Hey, leave my mom out of this. She's nice.
Okay. Jordan Hoffman of Entertainment Weekly, you cultist. It's certainly stupid, but it's also a great deal of fun. No, it isn't.
No. Okay, somebody had to cash the check from Amazon. You know they saw the zero and broke out the checkbook, and somebody say something nice.
He's the only one.
This is it. One
this is
dude.
The guy. This is the 3%. This is the guy. I will now refer to him always as 3%. 3% from Entertainment Weekly.
You're the 1% of the. You're like the one dude who gave Toy Story 3 a negative review too. Like, what the heck is wrong with you?
Almost guaranteed. All right, that's our review of War of the Worlds. This was a lot of fun. And this is our review of the money of Fantastic Four and Superman. That was the better podcast. Gavin, always a pleasure. I miss hanging out with you. We have to get. Are you just counting down the days till January when we start up on Sports Night?
Sure am.
Yeah.
And Ted Lasso season 4.
Wow, no! Don't make me do Ted Lasso season 4 without.
You like
good, Mark. No one makes you do anything. You like Ted Lasso.
I like Ted Lasso with Ted Lasso. This is Ted Lasso without Ted Lasso.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
I'm going to do it because Gavin asked so very precious little of me that I will do things for Gavin. But I'm not going to enjoy it. How about that?
Believe.
I will believe. You're right, Gavin. I don't know where my head was.
Conceive, believe, achieve, Mark.
That is true.
So yeah, famously said to Luke Rockhold right before he was knocked out.
In lieu of having anything to plug, because I have nothing to plug these days, I will make you this promise.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the words of one Nicholas Kahn, when, not if, when Vince McMahon returns to WWE,
right,
we will break glass in case of emergency. We will hit the bat signal. We will regather the casual heroes for an emergency WrestleCast.
I love it. I will make a Suno.ai song to welcome us back.
When, not if, because it will happen.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless he dies has some massive stroke before next year.
Far too evil to die.
By the way, can I tell you how many bad takes I saw on the Brock Lesnar thing when he showed up after?
It is an infinite supply.
Yeah, but here's the thing, not to extend the show anymore past, but I am, unless there is proof that Brock Lesnar did anything forcibly to that girl, or she was, and he knew she was doing things forcibly to him or for him, Brock didn't do anything wrong, and the only one that should have a problem with anything that he did is his wife. Everybody else needs to shut the fuck up. Now, everybody else involved in that satanic cult, sure, send them all to prison. hang Vince McMahon up by his toenails. That I'm fine with. But, like, everything about what happened with Brock and the young lady, to my understanding, was, to his understanding, consensual. So I don't understand the big, why are we letting Brock Lesnar back?
What he did, what he didn't know, I won't presume to have any inkling of.
Nothing has been reported that he knew anything. That's the thing.
I know that the words out of Nick Khan's mouth were, unless there's a criminal conviction, I don't have a problem. And
my standard's a little lower than that, but yes.
It's a civil case, so there's not going to be a criminal conviction.
Mm-hmm.
So when No Chance fills the airwaves and an octogenarian power walks out,
and I scream, "Get out here, you rapist!"
We will break the glass for the years in waiting reunion.
Be fantastic. Be the best show I've ever done. Anyway, so yes, I agree with you, Gavin. And since you don't have any other plugs, I will do plugs. So, where am I? So yesterday, myself and Jesse did some source material. We did The Crow, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, and The Butcher of Paris. Tomorrow, Robert, Alexis, and Jason are reviewing Weapons. Wednesday, Alexis and Jesse, I believe, are reviewing Stranger Things Season 1. I will be back from Virginia and seeing Toad the Wet Sprocket on Thursday. And then we will be concluding our look at the West Wing Season 7. So far, so good, Robert. It absolutely does suck. It has not been good.
I told you it was Season 5 that started, and you went, I don't know what you were talking about. And, it's not good. And you said, no, it's fine. It's fine. And then you got to Season 6, and you went, Robert, why are you so, how are you clairvoyant? Like, one, I lived through it. It's not clairvoyance. And then you got to 7, and you were like, why did I do this to myself? I have to watch Jimmy Smits and Alan Alda be the worst versions of a Democrat and a Republican, but in the opposite suits.
Yeah, this has gone beyond wish fulfillment, straight up into high fantasy. Anyway, speaking of high fantasy, this Sunday we'll be back on the Metal Hammer of Doom jukebox. We'll be looking at the new Baby Metal album. A week from tonight, a different streaming movie, somewhat better, I hope. We will be looking at The Night Always Comes on Netflix,
if it's
starring
worse,
Vanessa Kirby.
I might quit.
I might join you. I
also
might quit.
I think it's going to be a bad movie, but I really hope it's better than this.
And then a week from Wednesday, myself and Alexis Hannah will be looking at Resident Alien Season 4.
The last, or is 5 the last one?
No, I don't know if they're doing another one after this, but this is the most current season.
Yeah, this is the last one. They had their series finale on Friday.
And then myself and Mick Wanamaker will be reviewing Fear Street Prom Queen, The Old Guard 2, and Fountain of Youth on a triple feature of new streaming movies, because we just can't get enough of that golden crisp. It's got the crunch with a bunch. Yeah. Robert.
I can't believe they actually went through with an Old Guard 2.
Yeah.
We reviewed that.
No, we didn't. One. That was me and Alexis, and we did that as a comic strip.
The hell it was. I watched it. I know I talked about it.
Okay. I can tell you I did a comic strip with Alexis on it. I assure you.
No, you made me watch that so I could be on deck.
Maybe. That sounds more right.
Yeah, cause I watched it because I was like, I might have to review this. Yeah, it's something like that. Anyway. Mark's already mentioned it. Tomorrow on Damn You Hollywood Weapons. That'll be a good one. If you're interested in some of the stuff I do, I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays. This last week was UFC on ESPN 72 from the warehouse, the highlight of which was a powerbomb knockout. I kid you not, there was someone channeled there in a Rampage Jackson and powerbombed their way out of a triangle choke. So
nice.
And Anthony Hernandez beat Roman Dolidze so badly he submitted him with the bouncer rear naked choke with no hooks while dragging you across the ground.
Nice.
Yeah, the rest of it didn't matter that much. So you can find my full report in the MMA Zone of 411 Mania. On the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, which I host, I also previewed UFC 319. That's coming our way this Saturday, headlined by Dricus du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev, and I am rather excited for that fight, actually. And because there is some unpaid intern over at UFC HQ who hates me, he waits until I make a request for information specifically. In this case, I was talking about the WWE deal with ESPN that was announced over the last week because it's relevant, and how the UFC's new broadcast partner had not been announced. And, we are kind of running out of time for that because it's up at the end of the year. Lo and behold, this morning, hot off the presses, the UFC announces that in 2026, they will be exclusively with Paramount/CBS. They will be doing away with pay-per-view. Everything will be on CBS or Paramount Plus, basically, to the tune of 13 numbered events a year and 30 fight nights, so about the same schedule they have now. And this deal is worth $7.7 billion over the next 7 years. I could have talked a lot about that. Instead, I have to wait a week to then put that at the end of my discussion of UFC 319.
Mark and Robert, always with our hands on the throat of culture.
It's because I do the show Sunday evening. Mm-hmm. Like that's my only excuse. It's been a Sunday thing since I picked it up when you dropped it.
I'm telling you, man, join the dark side, get on TikTok. Then you can talk about anything you want, anytime you want.
There's no way I gain traction on TikTok. I'm me.
No, I don't know. I've been on TikTok a while now. I have seen some shit.
Yeah, but have you seen someone like me, Mark?
Yes.
How did they do?
Fine.
No.
My God.
Not by
Kevin, talk sense to this man.
Not by social media standards.
Never know till you try.
My TikTok that I did 2 days ago, that went up Saturday afternoon, about zombie houses and delisting, has over now 20,000 views.
Nice.
Yeah. It's the second time I've gone viral. Second time I've gone that for me. I had one that's currently in the 80,000. This is the second highest one to that one.
Yeah, my issue with trying to do stuff on TikTok is if you're not reliably getting 6 to 7 figures of views, you don't matter.
Well, I'm aware of that, but occasionally I get a spike, so.
And look, God bless you, you're on the grind. Nothing but respect. Mm-hmm. Seriously. But that's like, if you want to know why I don't, like, my thought process and content isn't actually built for short, easily digestible consumption.
That's where the AI takes over. Hey, I have this book that I've written in my head that's 300 pages long. Terrific. I will reduce it to a 4th grade reading level and make it a minute long. Ta-da! TikTok.
Yeah.
It's magic, Gavin. Magic.
Yeah, sure. So again, you can find that wherever you listen to podcasts.
Gavin always looks like amused and afraid of me. It's really great.
It's a much better acting range than Ice Cube gave.
Fair.
So you can find me over there. Again, coverage over at 411 Mania. And I agreed to cover a couple of Sunday cards this month as well because my life is sad.
Are you covering Forbidden Door?
I am covering Forbidden Door.
I cleared my schedule to watch Forbidden Door.
You're sadder than I am. I at least get paid for it.
I will watch Forbidden Door. I will be TikTok live, and I'll interact with you on 401 Mania just cause.
I'm not going to interact with my chat with my comment section over 411.
Boo! I'm trying to form synergy here.
I appreciate the attempt. You are welcome to read some of those comments over there and do that.
I will read them out loud.
I'm sure you will. God bless.
It has been a very long time since I did anything with 411, and I cannot imagine the comment section has improved.
It has not. I will also be covering the Clash in Paris on the 31st.
I'm going to watch that.
You shouldn't, but...
God.
What are your plans
Why do you always have to tell me what to do?
What are your plans for September 20th and the dual pay-per-view now?
Oh, good question.
I am currently not scheduled for anything related to that. I'm sure that will change at some point. Someone will ask me.
I'm going to watch All Out. That's what I'm scheduled to do.
What's the other one there?
The WWE will probably be Bad Blood, and early rumors are that's where they're going to place Cena versus Brock.
Ooh, damn it. Oh, now which one of my kids do I love?
We both know the answer to that, Mark.
Stop it.
So again, I have not been asked to cover one of those. I might be by the time it's all said and done. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I said about the meanest thing I could say on coverage on Friday, actually, because Solo Sikoa talked. And I said I'd rather listen to a John Moxley Death Riders promo than this again.
Whew, what you said.
And I can't think of a meaner thing to say. Without
I can wrap it up.
So yeah, you can find me over there covering those things if any of that interests you. If not, next week, Mark already mentioned, we'll be reviewing because Mark continues to tell me that Vanessa Kirby can act. And I continue to point out the evidence in all the movies we've seen of her.
Gavin, talk sense to the man. Vanessa Kirby is a capable actress.
You're on your own here.
Damn it! Why do you even come here? He has his own podcast you can agree with him on.
So we'll be reviewing a Vanessa Kirby vehicle next week, and I hope you'll all come back. If you've been here, if you've enjoyed, if you've listened, thank you. Please interact with the product a little bit. That helps the algorithm, especially if you're on YouTube, where they no longer count things that don't have interactive views because they're trying to solve the problem of bot watching inelegantly.
Well, trying to solve problems inelegantly is the phrase that pays here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. So, for talk sense to him, Gavin, and he won't do it. He spoke
the truth, Mark.
For every plug as an editorial, Robert Winfrey, I have to pack for Virginia and Toad the Wet Sprocket because it's all I want. Be well, be safe, and behave.